You know how we do it. Start your day off right, my friends. Read the words. Read the words, baby. Welcome to Wake Up Legendary. My name's Dave Sharpe. That's good. That's good stuff. My friends, we have yet another amazing guest this morning. Her name is Nicole, and she was staring at bankruptcy. And she went from doing that to retiring her husband in 6 months. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Hi, Dave. Thanks so much for having me.
No, you're so very welcome. Where are you calling in from?
Reno, Nevada.
As you were discussing with Joanne backstage there a moment ago, we got double trouble in Reno, Nevada. Watch out.
Joanne and I are going to go cause a ruckus.
I don't know that. Well, I mean, you definitely have the time and money now. So look out. So what led you to Legendary? How did you find us? What were you looking for? And did you find what you were looking for?
Definitely found, and so much more than what I was looking for. I was just looking for ways to make money online. With my husband going through chemo, and we had to pay for chemo out of pocket, and that is insanely expensive. And it didn't make a lot of sense for me to go back to the school district because basically my entire paychecks would go towards daycare. So we were like in a rock and a hard place. So I went searching for ways to make money online, and I kept seeing, posts about affiliate marketing, about Legendary itself. And I sat there for 2 months before I finally decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead and try this. And I tried it, and here we are. And it's incredible. And like I said, that's, so much more than what I was looking for. The community, the friends that I've made, like, I'm blown away by. I'm constantly telling people there's no other community out there like Legendary.
Oh, that's really sweet. And people love you. Nicole is the one that I found Legendary. I've been following Nicole for a long time. So yeah, you got some people who are happy to see you on the show this morning. And for any of you who are looking to go and follow Nicole more, you can find her over at TikTok and Instagram at passive_mommy_income. So, okay. Wow. You're getting a hat throw right off the rip, because I tell you what, you just dropped a whole lot for us to unpack there, right? In that first 60 seconds. So hubby had cancer and needed chemo.
Mm-hmm.
You're a teacher, right?
Worked in education for 15 years. Yeah.
Worked in education for 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
No way that you had the money to be able to pay for everything, including now treatments and everything that came along with probably him not being able to work, I would assume, or at least being limited. And all of this has happened to you and your family in how recently? Over the last year?
Yeah. Father's Day weekend, right at the week after Father's Day weekend last summer was when he had surgery. And then he started chemo in October and did chemo October through January of this year.
I hope and pray he's doing better now.
Yes, he's doing amazing. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And hopefully some of that is from being home more and getting more love and getting more rest and getting all the treatment that he needs and deserves, right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that man deserves the world. Hence the reason I did all of this.
Okay. So in this time, you've now been able to retire him as well, which is kind of the hit in all this. I mean, this is the real kind of like, those were the struggles. We've got some wins, though. Not only is hubby doing great, he's getting everything he deserves, and you've retired him.
Essentially, he does a lot of work with me now, actually. Sure. And he does still have his own business that he does a little bit on the side. But yeah, when he was going through chemo, he had to get another insurance job. And it just, oh gosh, it was killing him, like watching him do both. And it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So, and still it wasn't cutting, just what we needed day to day.
Right. There was more, as in other words, there was more month at the end of the money.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So My gosh. So when did you start with us? When did you find us, and what did those first few, whether it was days, weeks, months, how long did you look? Like, tell us that beginning kind of starting period of when you found us.
Yeah, let's see. I started in December. So I must have found you October-ish. Um, and I sat there and I watched. I sat and I watched and I sat and I watched. And finally, I mean, because October, that was when, the chemo started. And so as the months went, our savings was significantly dropping. And come December, not having any money to get your kids presents. My parents were literally paying our heater bills so that we could keep our kids warm at night. Like, I had just had enough. And I said, screw it. And actually my husband is the one. So I had the $7 training like up on my computer screen, and I didn't tell him. I told no one that I was even looking into this. He walked past my computer screen. He's like, why aren't you doing this? So it was him that gave me that last little like shove to do it. And
What's his name?
Justin.
Shout out Justin. Shout out Justin for the motivation there.
Yeah, for sure.
During tough times, at rock bottom, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I jumped in December, did the $7 training right off the bat during chemo, during Christmas, during my son's birthday is the same exact time frame. Like, it was a hot mess, but I got it done. Started the blueprints right away, and I launched essentially my first post or whatever on January 31st of this year. So basically 6 months on the dot.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we're like three days past exactly 6 months, I
Mhm.
think, right? July, January, February, March, April, May, June. No, whatever. We're there. We're in
Yeah.
that. We're in that zone. So, so Justin pushed you over kind of the edge of like, hey, what's that? What are you doing with it? Like, that looks like something that you should look into or follow through with. What was it like to initially go through those first few challenge videos? What do you remember feeling? What do you remember thinking?
I remember being like, what the hell is this? Because it just like, this is such a foreign concept to me, such a foreign world to me. I had no idea that it even existed, let alone like all the technicalities that go with it. And I mean, just everything. I was like information overload. But at that
Mm.
point, I had basically made up my mind to push through it. And I had the best business advisor who was always available for questions and concerns and all that. So that was awesome. Um, yeah, I just remember feeling super, super overwhelmed.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a normal feeling, right? You now know that means that you're not, well, it could lead to a breakdown, but
Mhm.
it's usually the dawn before the day. They say it's, I don't remember the exact phrase on that, but you're right around the corner of a breakthrough. We
Right.
we we oftentimes interpret that as a breakdown, and it ended up, or it usually can end up being a breakthrough if you follow through with it. So you're super overwhelmed. You're going through all of this, like in your personal life. There's more month at the end of the money. You also decide to continue to invest in your education. What was that like?
Oh, buddy. Okay, so it's funny because I've been starting to get this question quite often, which I don't have a problem with. But basically, people are like, "Well, if you were that dead broke, how did you pay for the blueprints?" And we, we spent our entire savings. We maxed out all but one credit card. And so what happened was, and I don't think I would recommend this to everybody. So let's just preface that. But we had one credit card left, and it was one of those crappy credit cards with the super high interest rate that automatically deducts the payment from your bank account every month. It's the one that you never want to touch, right? And we saved that one for, God forbid, our heater went out, or we needed tires, or something, right? Just something catastrophic that would have just put us over the edge. And we put the blueprints on that card. We knew at this point, we knew that we were all in, and we knew that we needed to do something drastic in order to turn everything around.
Mm.
So we did. We put the blueprints on that one crappy credit card. Praise God, I was able to pay it off in like a month and a half or something like that. But it was total leap of faith.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. You said something there that struck me and I can relate to: doing something extreme,
Mhm.
like needing to do something that jars your whole being into, almost like vibrating you right out of your normal kind of thinking and everyday feeling and going about your day, right? You have to do something, remove yourself from an environment,
Yeah.
go and declare something out loud to people, either in person or on social media. Like, put yourself out there. For most of us, that is what doing something extreme means. And for me, it's always been usually the most effective extreme thing that I can do is like go and declare what I'm doing, or sort of sort of you know, humble myself and acknowledge, like, this is where I'm at right now, and this is kind of, I'm going to let all the walls down, and I'm going to let all the image management down, and I'm going to let all the facades down, which are usually only in my own head anyways.
Yeah.
And this is where I'm at, this is what I'm doing, and I'm on day one.
Right. Yeah. But it's the whole idea of like going all in. And that's exactly what I did is I went all in. And I'm lucky enough to have had the support of my husband, and my parents at this time knew what we were doing too. But literally that was it. But
Yeah,
I went all in.
yeah. I love that. I love that word, all in. I've used it several times throughout my career. You know, to not to obviously saying go all in can be something, a term that can be used about buying something, right? But
Right.
it's there's always, and the way that I've always intended is the same way that you're talking about. Money is something that we put way more value on than our emotional
Yes.
inventory and how much we are willing to invest emotionally in something, right?
Yes.
We value those dollars, that dollar bill, y'all, like it's who we are, like it's like there's not any more of it left on this earth, you know. When the true precious resource, when the true limited resource is our emotions and our energy
Mhm.
and our
And our time.
mental and our time, of
Mhm.
course. And so the commitment to go all in with something like that is really the big deal. And you know what? I tell people this in response to questions about buying courses and investing in themselves. It's like, do whatever you're uncomfortable with, right? Because I can't say do what you're comfortable with, because that would mean stay the same. But do whatever you're uncomfortable with, but don't do something that's going to put you in some sort of, that's going to get you kicked out of your house next week.
Right.
It's going
Yes.
to that's not going to get your children fed. But you know
Right.
what? I have never met a single person who said I'm broke and then invested in themselves or bought something and couldn't feed themselves.
Mhm.
There's all, I mean, whether you believe in God or whether you believe in the universe or just your own personal resourcefulness, you get provided for,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
There tends to be an energy flow between God, the universe, others, that when you are trying and you are putting forth the effort, you get provided for.
Oh
It
yeah.
doesn't, you know, I'm not particularly one that believes that if we all just sit on our hands and pray,
Mhm.
that everybody's going to be provided for. That I
Mhm.
don't really go for that,
Right.
right? I
No.
believe that, you know, as they say, faith without works
Mhm.
is dead, right?
Mhm.
We need to move our feet.
Yeah.
And I think this is another great example, your story of going all in, both financially, right, in your case, but also emotionally, mentally, and with your time, and being rewarded. So talk to us a little bit about your time management at the beginning, since you were the one who mentioned that. Talk to us a little bit about how you made it work in terms of learning the skills and getting things set up, picking your niche, and getting started
Yeah.
without massive delay.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I got going right off the bat. Gosh. I mean, it was, again, it was during chemo, so we had to manage that. We had I have two young children. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and at the time she was 2. Um, Gosh, honestly, that I keep telling people, I'm like, this is the nooks and crannies of your day. I know that that sounds like super cliche, but it
Mm,
really is. It's the nooks and crannies of your day. And I would carve out specifically during nap time, where I would sit down and I would study the material. And I told my husband, because I prior to this had a tendency to like take courses and then like kind of put my own spin on it. And I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to do exactly what they tell me to do, like exactly what they tell me to do. And as like we joke about it, we're like, I just listened and followed directions. I really did. But I did. I soaked up all the knowledge during nap time specifically. I did what I could to set things up in the nooks and crannies of my day. I'm lucky enough that my parents were pretty supportive, so they would take the kids occasionally, and then I would hammer some stuff out, like setting up my funnel, for instance. It took me, gosh, I want to like 6 hours or something like that, but I got it all done in one day. And once it's up and running, it's up and running, right? And gosh, just it took me so long to figure out filming and reels. And I mean, I am not a social media savvy person. It does not come naturally to me. It's not
mm,
something I'm still overly comfortable with. So I think that to me was the harder part, because that was letting go of my own insecurities, letting go of my own, thoughts in my head of what are other people going to think? What happens if people find me? Literally, but again, going all in and just dropping all of that and letting it
mm.
go and just allowing myself to grow in this process. Um, yeah, but again, just back to the time, like just nooks and crannies and nap time. I mean, really, that's
That's still
what I
what you're doing, right? I mean, I would assume that you're still maybe a little bit more freedom because it sounds like hubby's home and or at least around because he's retired. Doesn't mean he's not still working his ass off, but he's retired by mama. Okay.
did.
Shout out Justin, living the good life.
He
Okay.
is. He loves it.
Um, yeah. And so I would assume that you're still kind of you've evolved that time management a bit now more, but don't you still find that you're still finding because now all of a sudden you're filling time with activities and fun stuff. So we work in the nooks and crannies even as we become more successful in
Yeah.
many respects, right?
Yeah, I basically took almost the entire month of July off. I did, my basic posts every single day, never missed a day, but I really did. I took the majority of July off. We went on 2 different vacations. We had 2 sets of friends come into town, and I still made money because of what I learned through Legendary. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful thing, and you're so right. You're touching on so many things. I see people fumbling the ball all over the place about the funnels and making a big deal out of it and kicking and screaming and complaining all the way. And all of that is fine to do as long as you don't quit. But
Yeah.
if you fumble and start complaining and poor me and this is so hard and what funnel builder should I even go with, it's like, do you realize you're complaining about shopping right now?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is literally a first world problem. This is not a hardship.
Yeah.
You're choosing between which vendor, supplier, tool.
Yeah.
And let me put this in perspective for those of you who are in that process right now. Imagine me as a construction worker back in the day going into Home Depot every day and saying, no, I'm good. I don't need any help, Bill. Thank you. I'm just here once again today, looking over these hammers, just trying to figure out if I want to go with a Craftsman or a DeWalt here. Don't no, I'll be here for a couple of more hours. I might kick and scream over here in the aisle, but don't mind me. I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like who would do that? I mean, you go into Home Depot, you buy a damn hammer. For the most part, they all do the same job and you're gonna have to learn. Maybe I should use a more complicated example. The drill. You're still gonna have to learn how to use the damn thing, whether you go with a Ryobi or whether you go with a DeWalt. you're still going to have to learn the speed. You're still going to have to learn, how much pressure do you apply to the trigger, how much life's in the battery, all these kind of things. There's going to be frustrations that you're going to have with a particular drill, but it's still a blessing to have a business and have the opportunity to be able to choose and try out and play with and learn how to use these tools.
Yeah.
It really is, right?
Yeah.
What comes up for you when I talk about some of the frustrations of the technical stuff? Was that a thing for you? And what did you tell yourself because obviously you pushed through it. So what did you notice as far as the soundtrack that was coming up? Did you take that soundtrack off the record player and put on another one? Maybe you could touch on a little bit of your mindset development that's happened over the past 6 months.
Yeah, so I actually have a history in life coaching. I'm actually a master certified life coach. So I do have a skill set that I feel like not everybody has, but it took me years to develop this skill set, right? And I can recognize when I am literally just fumbling over things that don't matter. And so being able, like, again, the funnels, and it was like, okay, I'm not going to say who I was talking to, but basically like, which one should I use? And I caught myself. I'm like, well, hold on. Like, I still have to learn it regardless. Exactly like what you're saying about the tools or the hammer and the drill. I still have to learn it regardless. Like, just freaking pick one and move on. Like, you're wasting precious time here. And so just, again, recognizing what's going on in your head to me is such a huge piece to this, because 90% of the time your brain's totally lying to you and telling you just crap that doesn't make sense. It's not applicable when you really stop to think about it. So, but that's the thing, is you have to learn how to stop and think about what's happening in your brain. What are the thoughts that are causing you to be in this analysis paralysis, essentially? And are you going to let that hold you back? Or are you going to work through it and keep pushing forward and actually find success? Because for me at the time, I had made up my mind that no, this was going to work, period. There was no other option but for this to work. Just failure was not an option at all for me. So just working through all the thoughts that were coming up in my head and choosing to move past that analysis paralysis, choosing to move past I'm so uncomfortable showing my face on social media. Okay, well, yeah, I'm uncomfortable, but am I what's more uncomfortable, showing my face on social media or declaring bankruptcy? I think I'll take showing my face on social media.
Oh man, you got to choose your misery, baby. You got to choose your misery. And here's the other thing. Let me say this real loud and clear. If you don't choose your misery, folks, somebody else is going to choose it for you.
Yeah.
Right? So would we rather choose our own misery and say, this is my misery. This is my pain. This is my challenge. This is my challenge to overcome. I chose this, right? Than going and having somebody else choose our path, knowing damn well we're going to hate it and kick and scream and complain about it every step of the way, right? Not even particularly because it's hard, but because somebody else is telling us what to do.
Which I have a problem with. But yeah.
Who doesn't?
I would way rather, have it be within my control, this uncomfortableness. I'd way rather have it be in my control than being like, oh, well, when's the bank coming? Like, I'm going to take control of my life. I'm not going to sit in victim mentality. I mean, could I have? Sure. Like we had a horrible year, but like, am I going to sit in that or am I going to do something about it? So I did something.
Yeah, you had a year to remember for sure, and one that is nice, so nice for you to share with us, because it reminds us that, you know what, my problems today are not that bad.
Yeah.
And that's the power of sharing. That's the power of real, honest sharing, not to sharing pain. A pain shared is a pain lessened. Why? Especially in a safe environment where people are not judging, but we're just learning and we're listening and we're validating and we're not minimizing or trying to one up or trying to tell war stories or anything, which thank God I went through that sort of life training and recovery, right? Because I used to be a war story guy when I was 24, getting clean from drugs and alcohol, coming off of being on the streets. And somebody would share their shit, and I'd be like, "Well, let me share some shit with you." And it's like I really had to be mentored and taught to listen and to that my problems, that there's always somebody out there that's got it worse than me. And there's also somebody out there who's working just as hard as I am. And that if I want to get ahead in life, if I want to win, if I want to succeed, I have to really get comfortable with developing my work ethic. And I am not entitled to shit. I really am not entitled to shit.
Yes.
And a lot of us think that we are, we think we're entitled to success. And I think society sort of sets us up with that unrealistic expectation that what do you want to be when you grow up, little Johnny? Oh, you want to be an astronaut? Well, make sure you get good grades and make sure you go to college and make sure you get that degree and make sure you work 40 hours for 40 years for somebody, because then you could be an astronaut and retire. And then we go to, high school, we get good grades, we're good little boys, we're good little girls, unless you're Dave Sharpe. But we follow the path for the most part. And then we get that degree, we hang it up on our wall. So I don't have shit hanging up on my wall. I don't have any degrees, right? So it's like we get the degree. We're like, okay, time for the job, right? And then it's like 2 weeks into the job, you're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing this for the rest of my life, right? Yeah. And then I have to go get recertified after more money and live in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom house. Shit, I want to live in a mansion, damn it. I wanted to be an astronaut. Part of the reason why I wanted to be a ball player when I was young, personally, was because I did want to drive a nice. I knew they made a lot of money for playing a game that they loved. Part of it was I wanted to live good. Who grows up thinking, yeah, I want to live, I want to live in a
mediocre life.
I want to live a mediocre life. I want to drive a mediocre, mid-size. No offense to anybody who drives a Prius. It's just the one that's coming to my head right now. I want to grow up and I want to drive a Prius and I want to live in a small apartment and I want to barely be able to afford dog food, right? And have to decide if I'm going to pay my electric bill or get groceries and not be able to go out to have a date night or see a movie, have to constantly juggle around my Netflix and HBO subscriptions because I can only afford one per month. It's like that's, and then God forbid a medical emergency hits. And most of us don't realize that we're only one medical emergency away from complete financial destruction. And most people don't have the desire and the drive and the resourcefulness that you and your husband have and had to start something. And actually, imagine if you hadn't, and not to go into spiraling out in negative thoughts right now, but where do you think you would be right now if you had not started this journey 6 months ago?
Oh, gosh. I probably would be a pre-kindergarten teacher again and taking my kids to school with me and hating it. I don't want to go back to that. I did that for 15 years. I don't want to do that again. Justin would be for sure working an insurance job that he doesn't want to be working. I don't know if we'd have this house or not. I truly don't. Oh my gosh. It's terrifying. Well, and then to think too, like we kind of like screwed our credit up there for a while because of the whole credit cards not being able to. So like, I don't even know, would my parents have to co-sign on an apartment? Like
on an apartment.
I don't know.
Because rates are really high right now, and trying to get into a new home with a mortgage is a lot more expensive than it was a few years ago.
Seriously.
Times have changed. I think looking at the alternative is always a powerful exercise. It's like, I'm here, but where could I be? Like, and also giving myself credit and celebrating my wins. It's like, I am on the path right now to changing my life. I know exactly where the hell I'm going to be if I do nothing. I'm going to be right here or worse, right? Like that is predictable.
Mhm.
It's I know exactly where I'm going to be. I
Mhm.
have no idea where I could go
Right.
if I actually apply myself and take action and try. And
Right.
so we're met with these scary moments like starting a training, setting up our funnels, getting on camera. You said you weren't a social media person. Can you talk to us a little bit about what that experience was like of putting yourself out there?
Yeah, I think honestly that was my personal, like that was my hurdle, my biggest hurdle to overcome. Especially, like I said, I told no one aside from Justin and my parents that I was doing this, and people started to find me, and like my sister-in-law, she sends me a text one day. She's like, "Is this you?" Yes, it's me. Surprise. But and again, people are like, we're so surprised to find me because I don't do social media, or prior to this did not do social media unless like somebody's dog was loose or something like that. um I was so worried about what other people would think, or would I look stupid, or would I don't know, because again, I had to work through that. Like, okay, well, what does stupid actually mean? Like, and who says it's stupid? Who defines um basically that, who defines that, and so what, their opinions are not going to pay my bills. I had to continually remind myself that
Mm.
other people's opinions are not going to pay my bills, and anybody who is not supportive, screw you. Like, if you don't want to support me in what I'm desperately trying to do and get my family out of this situation, then bye, you don't need a place in my life, like, really. um so again, just focusing on that, and then again recognizing like those thoughts of that's the one that kept coming up for me. Oh, I'm gonna look stupid, I'm gonna look dumb. Okay, again, defining like what does that mean for me, and do I actually want to subscribe to that, or do I want to again put my own thoughts into this and choose my own thoughts of, I'm just gonna do something new, why not? But yeah, it was a continual like still, honestly, still I have to work through like just being uncomfortable. It's still not like supernatural for me yet.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously there's some things that help out along the way. I know you've made over six figures in the past 6 months,
Mhm.
and I'm comfortable letting everybody know that here because we've given the full context of how long we've given your full story, so everybody can see that it wasn't just an overnight magic trick. And
Mhm.
so, you know, obviously, I'm going to assume that seeing some money roll in helped build the confidence, right? Can you talk to us about the things that that you know we're clear, and I think all of us either are or have experienced everything that you just said. Even me, I know people put me on a pedestal and think that I feel no fear, but my friends, I am a sweaty, anxious mess a lot of the day. Okay, and it's just my nature. I've learned to live with it. I've learned to live with my anxiety, sober as a son of a bitch. Just this is who I am. I know the alternative if I start to try to medicate with the Xannies and the booze and all this other kind of stuff. I already know where that takes me. So
Yeah.
that's not an option for me.
Yeah.
I'm already crystal clear about that. So I need to develop alternative coping mechanisms for my feelings, for my anxiety, so I can relate to everything that you've just said. Um, uh, the money has helped you keep going. Tell us what else, what things rolled in and happened that 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 gave you that, no, F this, I got this.
Yeah. So definitely the money. Like, let's be honest, that was super helpful. Being able to, I keep going back to like my husband being home. I mean, he was home, where he was working from home beforehand, but like knowing the load that is off of his back to not have to work two full-time jobs, like I can never let him go back to work. Like, I just can't. I can't.
Aw.
Watching him like finally relax after what he's gone through, is worth its weight in gold. So that is like, no, we're never going back to that again. But where am I going with this? Come back, thought.
I don't know, but you are so sweet, like such a loving, sweet wife, man. I just wanna, sometimes we don't give ourselves credit. We're always like, and I can tell you are somebody who just loves on people and who is always thinking about other people, and you're a caregiver, caretaker, just probably on the brink of codependency in some respects, right? Because you're
You
always
know, I
thinking
used to
about,
be.
okay,
Yeah.
everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Or it's in your nature, right? If you
Yeah,
used to
it's in
be,
my nature for sure. But again, having the skill set of, from life coaching, being able to like recognize like,
set
whoa, whoa,
boundaries and
whoa,
everything.
okay, boundaries,
Absolutely.
boundaries, Nicole.
Absolutely. I just want to acknowledge you and just tell you that you are such a sweet person and a sweet, loving wife. And man, your husband clearly deserves everything that he has, the way that you talk about him and about who he is. But man, he and your family are really lucky to have you. And so can you talk to us about the development of your confidence and your self-esteem and finding your identity or renewed identity through this process over the past 6 months?
Yeah, it's been interesting. Um, re- I've had to really stop a lot along the way and recognize what I've accomplished. Again, particularly not being comfortable on social media and always like fighting that doubt, fighting that like perfectionism. And so I've had to really like force myself, or my husband has been like, hello, do you realize like what you've done? Come on, there's something there. But really, really, and I tell people this all the
Yeah.
time, like stop along the way and like recognize what you've built, recognize the wins, the small wins, because it's a crap ton of small wins that lead to that ultimate big win or big wins. But if you don't stop and like along your journey and actually recognize the hard work that you're putting in and the growth that you've made and the things that you've overcome, it's so easy to get lost in the mess of always striving for more, always wanting it to be different, always wanting it to be perfect. If you do not stop
Mhm.
along the way to recognize your wins, you're just putting yourself in a spot where you're probably going to lose yourself in what you're doing, and you're not going to know where you're going anymore. Like that trajectory is just going to be like all over the place because you're not just stopping.
Yeah, I think I and so many can relate to that. I mean, would you consider yourself somebody who previously was a grass is greener on the other side girl and always looking at, or at a certain time in your life was looking at other people's lives and comparing your insides to their outsides?
Yeah, there's always been like I've always struggled with like a comparison syndrome type of thing of like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not like looking at somebody who has something that I want. I'd be like, well, I'm not good enough to get that.
Mm,
Or I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm like all the bullshit that goes through your head.
mm.
There's always there, that I feel like that's human nature. But again, stopping and like you have to stop and recognize what's going on in your brain. But yeah, that's definitely something that I've always struggled with, I think.
So seeing yourself on camera and listening to your voice over the past 6 months and in seeing what you're capable of and seeing what you've been able to produce and create and how you've changed your entire family's trajectory. And yes, you have done that. Surely your husband and your family are a huge part of that, but we're talking about you right now, Nicole. Are you do you do you have you fallen in love with yourself in a new and different way over the past 6 months than before?
Yeah, I think that would be fair to say. I think I found a piece, like I found a fighter in me that I didn't really know was there.
Mm,
Um, and I tell people this, I'm like, I literally feel like I was backed in a corner and I had the choice to either like, lay down and die or to come out swinging. And I came out swinging and I'm like, whoa, okay. So I am capable of so much more than what
mm,
I thought I was.
mm,
And not gonna lie, there is a piece of me that's like, to the people who are like, I know that there's people out there who are thinking, oh, dang, I can't believe she did that. And so, like, there is like, my pride there for sure of like, I did it. Um,
I am
Yeah.
goosebumping up. I'm goosebumping up. I am so, God, that was like really, really, really powerful. I mean, to be reintroduced to ourselves. It's like that's kind of like one of the ways that I put it, because sometimes we're introduced to ourselves and we know a version of ourselves for so many years, and that's who we think we are,
Mhm.
right? We're the whatever labels we put on ourselves, right? You just said a few of them: not pretty enough, not skinny enough, not this enough, not smart enough, not successful enough, not A-type personality enough, not photogenic enough, not, this or that, all the different shit, right?
Yes.
And it's like we then build an identity where we're all the time, meeting new people and excited to follow new people and to see their journey and what they're capable of and the fighter in them and all this different shit. And that's where we get our sources of inspiration, and that's where we get our, entertainment from, and that's where we get our education from. And it's just like outside validation, outside learning, outside everything.
Yeah.
But I'm just the same person. I'm just little old me over here. I already know who I am. You already know who I am. So let's not give me too much credit over here, because this is just the box that I've already decided to put myself in.
Yeah.
And all the labels on the outside of the box. And then it's like we do something like this. And I had the same thing. I mean, I was like, I am a junkie, right? Back in 2008 and 9, when I started this, I was like, I'm a ex junkie who I don't know if I'm going to even be able to stay clean.
Right.
I was homeless not too long ago. I'm a high school dropout. I
Yeah.
was a teenage father, still am a teenage father, right? I have a 7 and a 2-year-old, but I also have a son that I had when I was 16.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, as a matter of fact, he's on the show right now, listening in, working for
Fun.
Reintroducing, you know.
Hi, Dave.
Um, yeah, his name's Alex. Um, so, man, all those labels, man, all those limiting beliefs that I had also placed on myself,
Mhm.
and the way that I talked about myself, the way
Yeah.
that I talked about myself to others, the way that I carried myself was all always with so much doubt. You could sense the insecurity. You could sense the defensiveness in me. I was like a little cat that was just ready to. If I thought anybody was, anybody was going to say something critical or mean about me, when the truth of the matter was, if anybody said to me the things that I said to myself, I would try to kick their ass.
Right? Yeah. Why is it okay that we let ourselves talk like that to ourselves when we would never let somebody else say that to us? I truly, yeah, I feel that for sure.
And it was through, for me, recovery, of course. I'll
Which,
never.
by the
Yeah,
way, that's
thank you.
incredible.
I've I remember I got involved in this thing called H&I hospitals and institutions, and this was where we took in a meeting to like a treatment center, which I had done before, 3 of them by this time, when I was getting clean in 2008. And they were like, I remember my buddy Scott, he became a friend and a mentor to me. He was like, well, you're going to share your story tonight. I was like, my
What?
what? My what? My story? My story? What is this? Fucking Disney? Is it story time? I don't have a story. Okay, I have a bunch of skeletons in the closet. I have a box of shit. I have a mess. I don't have a story. This is not Winnie the Pooh. Okay. And son of a gun, if I didn't get in that treatment center that night, Sunday night, down at the bridge, down on 9th Street and 18th Avenue South side of St. Petersburg. And I told my story. And these son of a bitches clapped when I
Well,
got done.
yeah.
They clapped.
Yeah.
And I said, whoa. And they came up to me. Here I am, 90 days clean in 2008. They came up to me and they wanted to shake my hand.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had just got done living I had a car, but I didn't have a driver's license. and all of my clothes were in the back of my car. When I finally got clean and opened the trunk, it stunk so bad. I had to go to the the laundry mat and just, desanitize everything. But that was where I was 90 days ago. And here I am 90 days later getting a round of applause from, a bunch of people inside of a treatment center because I told my story. And the same thing happened when I did this, when I started to put myself out there and I started to get on camera myself and tell my story and my mission and what I was doing, and started to learn about edutainment and, getting my personality out there and delivering value and stuff. And that first comment, man, awesome. Thank you. And then that first commission, $2.50 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then the first people that opted into my list. And of course, the negativity when the haters rolled in, or the people that would reply to my automated emails when I would send them out, they would say, "This is the worst thing I've ever read." And it would hurt. It hurt. It hurt my heart, because I was like, damn, I'm not good enough. Somebody sees that
they see the real me.
Yeah, they see how shitty I am, right?
Yeah.
They see how much of a failure I am. And I heard, an inspiration here and an inspiration there, and kept listening and didn't quit before the miracle happened. And for every one of the negative comments, there was a positive comment. There was a positive piece of feedback. And I learned to focus on that more.
Yes.
And we learn to be reintroduced to ourselves. I love that you said, I found a fighter in me, because for me, you're right. Struggling with drug addiction and homelessness and being a high school dropout and all these things that I felt like I couldn't overcome for so many years, I felt like there was not a fighter in me. I felt like I was a failure and I was weak, right? Because I think a lot of us can relate to this in terms of, well, I've put on weight, or I've let myself go, or I have no discipline. I haven't done this, or I've been at this job for I don't have any drive anymore.
Yeah.
Like, it's like we start to give in to this, like, I'm weak, I'm a failure. And then doing something like this does remind us that, holy shit, hold on a second. I am a fighter. I can, I will kick some ass. I will fight for my family. And you know what? Sometimes we got to start out fighting for somebody else because we don't have enough self-esteem to fight for ourselves, or we don't even remember what it's like to fight for ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But eventually we start to become inspired by our own story. Instead of being, tell me, are you to that point now to where you are inspired by your own fight in the things that let's put your family aside, because clearly they're awesome and they're fighters, but the things that you have fought through and you have accomplished over the past 6 months?
Yeah, I feel like I'm just kind of starting to come into that, honestly, in the last maybe 2-3 months. But again, that's work in terms of forcing myself to stop and recognize what I've accomplished, how I've grown. And I noticed there for a minute that I kind of got a little complacent, because I got comfortable. I got oh, okay, we're doing this.
Okay.
And I had to remind myself, hey, there's no growth here. If you're comfortable, you're not gonna grow. So it's time to get uncomfortable again. And so that's when
on those you were I got this is I'm good. I've hit a certain milestone, and it's almost like a fear of success, right? Because it's I've gotten this much. Let me quit. Almost like it's gambling. Let me quit while I'm ahead, right?
That's a great way to put it. It's almost like gambling. Quit while you're ahead type. Yes. I love that. And I have to remind myself, okay, well, if you're, not that I'm thinking about quitting, that's not the case at all. But there is that piece of whoa, if I'm thinking about quitting, or if I'm thinking about relaxing too much, or if I'm thinking about kind of easing off the gas pedal, then I'm not doing enough doing. And I have to look again, kind of this whole new like concept of like, whoa, I am a fighter. And like, okay, so I fought through that. So what else? What's the next thing that I want to fight through at this point? Because now it's a choice, right?
Mm,
And
mm.
looking
That's
for that
that's
next,
a
like, okay,
nugget.
it's time. Yeah,
Keep
it's time
fighting
to level up.
until your battles are a choice.
Yeah.
Keep
Oh, yes.
fighting until your battles to where you can pick, now I'm going to fight through this. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, correct. Yeah, exactly. So like bringing just ready to level up and go to that next step is terrifying, but it's knowing that, okay, I can sit here and be complacent, or I can fight through this next battle. And so I feel like I'm in this spot now where I don't have to do, this next step, but I am choosing to do this next step. But I have to regularly remind myself, like, Nicole, you're a badass. Like, you can do this. You can totally do this. Like, look what you've already gone through. This is nothing compared to that. Like, get up and do it.
Mm,
But yeah, so I do feel like in the last couple of months, I'm really starting to look at like, oh, wow, okay, all right, you got this, girl. Like, come on.
I really that's not an analogy I've ever used before, the gambling and let me quit while I'm ahead. But I really feel like that is a I feel like that's a common thought that us entrepreneurs who are who come from a background of maybe low self-esteem or maybe a lot of self-doubt or maybe lacking or battling with our own confidence. I mean, I'm talking about me, right? I mean, I am. Anybody else who can relate can say amen. But you know, over the years as I've hit new levels, you know, I've had a lot of tendency to want to run and like go hide. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
like, okay, I've made it
Yeah.
to this level. Let me go and run and hide real quick before I screw this up.
Mhm.
Right. And before
Ugh,
I don't even know what the hell I'm like afraid of or what I'm thinking is going to happen. But I just want to like run and hide because
yes.
it's like, it's or cash out or whatever. It's like, okay, I've hit this level. I've gotten lucky. All this and let me just kind of just quit while I'm ahead type of thing. And
Mhm.
that is that fear of success. That is that fear of stepping into my own power and keeping this thing going
Yeah.
and in inviting the next challenge and looking at everything as look, this is an opportunity for me to grow. This it's not, I don't always have to. I think for me in my life, I became so addicted to like struggling through struggles
Yeah.
that growing through like struggling through positive growth challenges like
Mhm.
leveling up
Yep.
like was not the type of thing that I was addicted to. I
Mhm.
was addicted to self-sabotage. I
Mhm.
was addicted to coming back up to baseline.
Yeah.
Okay, you know what I mean? Not leveling up in baselines down here, but coming just back up to normal like stuff. Like if
Human
you think
life. Yeah.
back to like somebody who struggle with addiction, it was like that was me constantly piecing my life back together in my teenage and early 20s. That
Yeah.
was me. And there were many relapses that I had leading up to 2008 when I finally got clean at 24 years old.
Yeah.
And I went to treatment for 16 months when I was 21, right? That was
Yeah.
a court ordered thing that I got blessed with from the
Yeah.
courts. Okay. That I got blessed with. Instead of going to prison, they sent me to a freaking DOC, Department of Corrections treatment center for
Yeah.
16 months. And that's where I was introduced to 12-step recovery. That saved my life.
Mhm.
But when I got out of there, I relapsed. I
Mm.
screwed up.
Mhm.
I was back down below baseline after putting this sobriety and my life back together for 16 months. And so when I finally got clean in 2020, in 2008, I was 24 years old. It, you know, I was just really trying to hold on to baseline. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? And so like my first kind of thing was like, oh, I'm gonna go out and start my own construction company and kind of cut the umbilical cord from my dad because I was sleeping on his couch. And I went out on a couple of estimates. I remember I went out on one estimate and damn near cut my finger off in front of the potential
Oh
investor.
my
I had to drive me to the emergency room on the free estimate, right? And I'm going, oh my God,
God.
oh my God, you know, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And then it was MLMs and everything. And then finally I came online and I was like, all right, let me try to do this from the comfort of my own home. Okay, let me try to do this, get the camera, the cheap laptop. We're gonna give this a go, right?
Yeah.
I didn't say iPhone. We were doing flip phone little camera devices, but let me give this a go. And I'll tell you what, I came alive when I started talking and I started sharing and I started telling my story and I started having an outlet. It was pretty therapeutic as well.
Yes.
There was some therapeutic value. You're saying yes. What's coming up for you?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing for me. Like, I don't share my story as of like, oh, look what I did, or look, you know, what we've gone through. And it's not like a badge of honor. Like, nobody wants to go through what I went through, you know? But it's the idea of, again, knowing that there's that fighter in me and wanting other people to find that fighter in them. And if sharing my story provides an avenue for them to even just get curious about, you know, where that fighter is in them, hell yeah, it's worth it. Oh my gosh, it's so worth it. So yeah, there's definitely, and again, being that, you know, I'm a natural born teacher, I love coaching and, you know, all of that sort of thing. And so being able to help people with this and help people find that fighter in them, there is a piece of that, a large piece of that like fuels me, that like, okay, Nicole, yeah, you're this, oh yes, I love this. I love this. I love watching people get their first commission. I love watching people, love getting those texts of, I just got my first hike. Like, oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. I love it. It just makes me so happy.
Yeah, it's nice to see other people win. What's your best piece of content creation, marketing advice, and what platform is working great for you right now?
Instagram and TikTok. I'm currently going miniature viral on TikTok right now with a talking video about the opportunity with digital marketing. So that's awesome to have something like that go semi-viral. But really, I think knowing how to talk to your audience is crucial. And I feel like a lot of people are missing that piece, even with, you know, having the fishing formula, but like really learning to grab their attention and talk to their pain points, talk to who they are as a human, their struggles, what is keeping them awake at night, and then offering a solution. I feel like again, it's a piece that I think a lot of people are missing or are struggling with. But I like, it's like a muscle that you can grow. Like, you can learn how to do that. You can develop it. You can get it stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
And is there any way to really give somebody that formula in whole without them practicing? I mean, this is the thing that I find so many people want to be perfect on their first video.
yeah,
And it
that's
just, you know, and even people say, well, I've been posting for 1 week, 2 week, 2 months. I mean, it's like, my friends, many of us have been doing this for years, some over a decade. You know, what is the fastest way, and what tip would you give people to learn how to be more comfortable talking to people and helping in allowing those people who are listening to resonate with them?
I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, actually. And I was telling her, practice talking, like literally get your phone out, record, and just sit there and talk to it. Because I think as soon as this goes in front of somebody's face, there's like, they shut down and they forget that they're not talking to a camera. They're actually talking to an audience, but they get so focused, hyper focused on talking to themselves basically, and they psych themselves out. So you get this out and you start recording and you just talk. You talk, you tell your story, you talk about why you love what you do, you talk about the opportunity, and you just practice, because really that's what's going to bring in that confidence eventually. And you only need a tiny bit of confidence. You just need a tiny bit. And my own coach told me the other day, what did he say? Perfection is the enemy of done. And I was like, whoa, yes, because I totally can so easily slip back into that aiming for perfection piece. And if you're aiming for that, that it doesn't exist, period.
Mm.
But if you're going to hyper focus on that, you're not going to get anything done and you're not going to move forward, period. So
Yeah.
get out and practice and quit aiming for perfection.
And talk to yourself. I mean, I've always, when I'm recording, just like you and I are right now on this show, on the computer screen, I mean, I record where I can see my face, right? So I'm looking at my face, and
Yes.
you and I are looking at both. You're looking at me, but you're also looking at your own face as we sit here on this kind of split screen
Mm-hmm.
interview. And I have found I have found a lot of comfort and the ability to be able to relax in just talking to myself, right? And so not only for me am I talking to others, but I am talking to myself in a way. And I think that, you know, for a lot of us, Nicole, looking at ourselves in the mirror and being comfortable, right? We're always looking for that friendly face.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, we never mean our face.
Mm-hmm.
We always mean somebody else's face. And I think a lot of this process is about making friends with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
you, on every webinar, every FaceTime, phone call, video, everything that you do in this digital and virtual world from this day forward, that you are going to be looking at yourself, right?
Yeah.
There is never going to be a time where you look or hear and say, perfection. I am the most beautiful, most pure, perfect voice. I love everything about it. There's never going to be that time. So you have to fall in love, or at least become friends and become familiar, and develop your face as that friendly face and get comfortable talking to yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Does
I
that
totally agree.
resonate with you?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's so funny. As you were talking about that, I was actually remembering how prior to this experience, public speaking, like I literally would break out in hives, like full blown red hives. Like I would specifically wear, shirts that went up here so that nobody would see my hives. Like, oh yeah. And so yes, I totally understand what you're saying. And I love this. I love the idea of, making your face the friendly face, because ultimately, like when you're doing that recording, you're looking at your face. So you're totally right about that. And that's what I was saying, is like going back to practice, like talk to yourself in the mirror. It will get better. Again, it's never going to be perfect, but it is going to be an ever evolving thing. And if you can get comfortable with talking to just yourself and forget about, all of that, and just focus on getting your message out there and what you want to say and what you need to say out there,
Yeah.
you
And you
can
know,
do it.
the other thing that helped me was just finding one look that I like. So a lot of times we feel the need when we're recording to like wear something different in every video, and I can't imagine what ladies or people with long hair who could do different hairstyles and stuff, all the different options. We go into our closet and we've got a million choices there of what we're going to wear, and all these different decisions that lead up to us actually getting in front of the camera. And over the past, over 700 episodes here on Wake Up Legendary, what I found is really helpful is to just find one look that you're comfortable with, that is not like, doesn't make you feel like you're too dressed up, but it also doesn't make you feel like you're too dressed down. It's just you're comfortable in it. It's just kind of a go-to look. And just this is my go-to look, right? It's like every day, if you go back and you look at all these Wake Up Legendary episodes, I am in the same exact clothes.
Yeah.
Okay. And guess
Yeah.
what? I mean, today I happen to have a black Mastermind shirt on, but it could be a Be Legendary shirt. And I get these shirts. I buy them at the same damn place that you would buy them. This is not a major profit center for us. BeLegendary.shop. I mean, get a white t-shirt, get a purple t-shirt, get a white t-shirt, pick a hairstyle, right? Pick up for the fellas, pick up a facial style for your beard or whatever, and just stick with it and just go with it and eliminate all the distractions. I don't have them on my desk, but I have a go-to bar that I eat pretty much every morning for breakfast before I do the show. It's a chocolate sea salt RX bar. That's kind of my go-to thing. I have my couple cups of coffee here. I drink the same water every day. I'm out, so I'm in the red Solo cups right now. But I'm usually on the Mountain Valley Spring sparkling water. I mean, everything is the same. I order the same lunch usually if it's not leftovers. It's from this restaurant, First Watch, around the corner. I get the quinoa sausage bowl, or I get the market hash with eggs over easy. I mean, it's the same thing, which eliminates all these decisions that I used to make about what am I going to dress? Am I going to hat? No hat? Am I going to put gel in my hair? Am I going to shave? What shirt am I going to wear? Is that shirt clean? All those decisions that create all this anxiety. And by the time I get to the camera, I'm like, do I look good? Plus, I'm exhausted from all the choices.
Yes. Yes, I love this. I love this. I think I tell women this all the time. I'm like, okay, if you go watch my videos, I'm in a ponytail and a t-shirt or a hoodie 95% of the time. And I tell women this all the time. I'm like, if you're going to focus so heavily on dressing up, like putting yourself in a position where you wouldn't normally look like that, then you're putting too much emphasis on something that doesn't necessarily matter. Mm-hmm. If you can't do this as just who you are, it's going to catch up to you. That burnout is going to become real. You're going to get too hyper focused on what doesn't matter. So show up as you, comfortably you. I mean, you don't have to wear if you want to wear pajamas, like rock on, I'm all for it. But like, just show up as you, genuinely, and allow that energy to flow into what you're doing so that you can get your message out there, so that you can help people, because that's what we're here for, right? Is okay, yes, the money too, but to help other people see this opportunity and what they can build with it. But if you're just hyper focused on stuff that doesn't matter, you're in for a rude awakening at some point.
And Tony Robbins says, I agree with this. If you're in your head, you're dead. And if you're constantly obsessed with self, and you're worried about how do I sound, how do I look, all the different things, or you're uncomfortable and you're thinking about how you're uncomfortable and thinking about, well, I don't usually dress like this or look like this, or do I look okay?
Pants are too tight.
You're going to not be able to be focused externally on your message. And I promise you, the way you make people feel, the most important thing is how you make people feel. The second most important thing is what you say. The third and least most important thing is how you look. It does not matter. It's nearly irrelevant. As a matter of fact, if you have something that's a little bit off or weird, it might make people feel like they can relate to you more. You don't know that, you don't really know, and you have no idea how you're going to make somebody feel when you put too much emphasis on like how you look, and like when you're trying to look maybe or present in a way that maybe is not your norm. As we bring this in for a landing, what advice would you have given yourself with the information, experience, and success that you have now when you first got started?
Em Walcott said something the other day that really resonated with me, and I'm going to butcher this, so Em, I'm so sorry, but something about like, if you knew that the outcome was going to be $1 million, what would you do for that? And again, I totally butchered what she said. Sorry, Em. But the idea like behind it is like, okay, if you knew the outcome, if you knew that you were going to be successful, how would you show up? And I love that. And I feel like more people need to kind of focus on that, because if you know that the outcome is going to be amazing, you're going to show up differently. You're going to show up as that future self. And I think people lose track of that. Again, they get so, psyched out with all the things that need to be done, or things that they think they need to be doing or whatever. Right. But just what steps would you take knowing that that's going to lead you to the outcome that you're wanting? Because you're just going to show up differently if you focus on things like that.
You, my friend, are a legend. You're an inspiration. You're a blessing to us. You're a blessing to your community and your audience. And you're obviously and most definitely a blessing to your family.
Thank you.
Nicole, congratulations on your success so far. I see you. You're doing an amazing job. You should be proud of yourself and
I
keep
am.
me posted on your journey. Okay. Come back and see me.
Yeah, love that. Thank you, Dave, so much.
All right, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right. You can go and you can follow Nicole over at passive_mommy_income. You can find her on TikTok and Instagram. She's doing big things in both places. We'll see you back here tomorrow, my friends, for another amazing episode. Every episode, and especially these episodes this week, are worth a re-listen. You can find them on all major podcast platforms. Just type in Wake Up Legendary. You can listen to them on the go. You can rewatch them right here on this Facebook page that we're streaming from. We also upload them to YouTube. My friends, have a fantastic day. Be legendary. And get out of here. Peace.